What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 5 of KYP Podcast.
Know your personnel.
We got a great guest on today, Jon Brockman, NBA vet. Really gets into it. Tells us a bunch of stories that I had no idea even happens in the NBA.
I'm low-key more excited to talk farming than I am basketball today, which is different. So, let's do this thing. Let's get into it.
All right, let's jump right into it. What's going on, everybody? We are super excited for the guest that we have on tonight. He was a 2005 McDonald's All-American. They don't just hand those out. He was 2005 Washington State Mr. Basketball. He stand out at University of Washington, over 1,800 points. Third player to ever lead the Pac-12 in rebounds 3 straight years. The other 2 people to do it, I don't know if anybody knows this, Lou Alcindor and Bill Walton. Anytime you're mentioned with those guys, you're an absolute stud. He was the 38th pick in the NBA draft. Jon Brockman, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
That definitely deserves a round of applause.
Hey, and Icy, I think one thing you could have included is that this guy has his own farm. So I want to jump right into that right away. That's like McDonald's All-American's impressive. Being in that conversation with Lou Alcindor and Bill Walton, but a farm to me, I'm a city boy, that's very impressive. So what kind of animals do you have on this farm? And how many?
We have quite a few animals. Right now we only have 1 cow. We just got rid of 4 of our cows. We have 6 goats, about 20 chickens, and then our 3 dogs and 2 cats.
What does getting rid of a cow mean? Like what exactly? What do you do?
Well, there's 2 different ways. There's 2 different ways you can get rid of them. You can sell them to someone else, or you can put them in your freezer. And 1 went in the freezer, and 3 of them went to someone else.
Hey, how long does that last for?
It'll last me and my wife. I mean, we can't go through a cow in a year, but you got to have 2 full freezers for a cow.
Wow.
Yep.
Do you do that yourself?
No, we hire it out. We have someone come and do it. I'm not that experienced.
and my question about being, would you consider yourself a farmer? Can we call you a farmer?
I'm a learning farmer. So up until this year, actually, I would have said no. I'm not a farmer. I'm a wannabe. But this year we put in a 3-acre pumpkin patch. That was like my first thing that I've farmed. So I guess maybe you can call me a farmer now.
And what time do you get up? Because I always picture farmers getting up at just the absolute crack of dawn.
Right, like.
I mean, we definitely have some projects where we got to get up early. And when we were planting the pumpkins, I had to get up early and do that all day. But for the most part, I get up, enjoy my coffee, and just kind of wander outside whenever I feel good.
Now, do farmers have a specific type of swag? Like, do you just wear the flannel shirts and some jeans and some boots all the time? Or is it kind of random? Do you still dress like you're getting ready for basketball practice?
It's kind of random. If I'm mowing out in the field or something like that, I'm probably wearing my basketball shorts. But there's definitely sometimes where you got to dress up and you got to play the part. You got to have
right. That makes sense.
Yeah, you gotta really feel like a farmer sometimes.
I feel that. I'm glad we got that right in the beginning because that's what I was very interested in. You don't see too many basketball NBA players to farmers.
We can talk about farming for at least
how many
2 hours.
there are. There might not be too many.
We're gonna have our producer Luke look that up. If there's any way to Google that, I don't know what you're possibly gonna Google. Kind of putting you on the spot, but we'll see if we can find that by the end of the year.
I feel like Todd McCullough might be the only guy that might have a farm.
You know what? He doesn't. I know Todd. He's got a basement full of pinball machines, though, and he's
I did see a story about him before.
One of the best in the world pinball players. So
makes sense.
Yep.
Who knew? We're learning things every day here on KYP Podcast.
Yep.
So, Jon, you came from a really small town.
Yep.
And you had such high accolades in high school. What was that like going to, the small high school? Were you a rock star at that point when you're one of the top recruits in the country, getting looked at by everyone? What was that like? Were you able to stay humble?
It was really fun. My parents, I think, did a great job of making sure that I stayed humble. And I'm the youngest of 4 kids. So all my life I was just getting beat. I mean, my sister played basketball at University of Washington. My brother played basketball with me. and I was just they were always whooping up on me in the backyard. So when I got to that level, it was really just a special experience because it was such a small town. The entire town, it felt like, would come to the game. I mean, the gym was packed, and that's just kind of what Snohomish is like.
Now, what was it like playing with your brother? How long did you guys play together in high school?
So we played together my freshman year when he was a sophomore. He was just 1 year above me.
Okay.
And then my junior year, when it was his senior year, we were supposed to have an unbelievable season. And in preseason, he ended up tearing his ACL. So he missed his whole senior year. So that was our chance, for a state championship. We kind of felt like, but he was able to rebound after that, and he ended up playing at Seattle Pacific University, a D2, and then he transferred and played 2 years at Bellevue Community College after high school.
That's what's up.
You said you got whooped on as a child by your siblings. So are you saying there was a point that you were small?
I think I've always been bigger than my brother. But he kind of had the finesse, and he was a 3-point shooter, and I was just a bruiser. I mean, I think in fact, I know I've only made 1 3 in my entire career. And it was from half court. So, I was never a shooter, but I was just a rebounder, hustle guy. And I think I've only beat my brother like twice in my entire life. So.
Really?
Yeah.
How tall is your brother?
He's 6'4".
Okay.
Yeah.
What age did you know you were different and kind of had, the potential to be a career? Like, were you a stud when you were younger, or, I know a lot of times the big men are later to develop.
I think it was probably my freshman year in high school when I got put on varsity, and me and my brother were on varsity, and just getting minutes with that group. It was an all senior group that had played together since they were little. That's the other kind of cool thing about our town is, like, the dudes that you played with in kindergarten are the guys that you're playing on varsity with. So just being able to contribute to that team as a freshman in high school, I think it was kind of like, I might be able to play after high school.
How far is your town or your city away from Seattle?
We're like 30 miles from Seattle, so 30 miles north of Seattle. But it's definitely, it's like farm country. There's a bunch of farms and really blue collar. So it feels nothing like Seattle when you get out to Snohomish.
Seattle's full of hoopers, man. I feel like that one of the most I won't say a secret because about the Seattle Hoopers now, but they don't get the recognition almost that they deserve. I know it's starting to happen now, but Seattle is full of hoopers, or just that Washington area in general.
Yeah, especially growing up, looking back at some of the AAU games we had and just some of the open gyms. There were 10 of us that ended up playing professionally in some of those pickup games.
Who were some of those guys?
So I remember one game, it was at Bellevue Community College. We were in high school. It was my sophomore year. And on my team, it was Mitch Johnson, who was point guard at Stanford, Spencer Hawes, who had a long career in the league, Martell Webster had a long career in the league, Micah Downs. I think he's still playing in Europe. He went to Kansas and then Gonzaga.
Right.
And then on the other team, it was like Marvin Williams, Aaron Brooks, who else? Josh Heifelt. So it was just a bunch of dudes, and we all grew up. Terrence Williams. We all grew up playing against each other since we were sixth grade, and it was just it was a really cool time for Seattle basketball back when I was in high school.
That's dope.
I mentioned in your intro the McDonald's All-American game.
Yeah.
What was that like to be selected like that? What was that weekend like to be with the top players in the country, especially coming from such a small school?
It was awesome. It was growing up when you're in high school. You get the Slam every month, and you're reading Slam, looking at all the high school forget what that little section of high school basketball players in Slam is called, but just having that honor was really special. And being able to go with Micah Downs and Martell Webster, who I played AAU basketball with, we were on the same team. It was a really fun time.
How did you keep a level head with this? I mean, I come from a city of 100,000, right? And relative to Massachusetts, it's a big city, but it's a small city when you're comparing it to Boston. Mm-hmm. Now, I was McDonald's All-American nominee in 2006, and I was walking around on a whole nother level, and people were treating me that way. So coming from a city of 9,000 and coming to McDonald's All-American, how did you humble yourself?
I think I got to go back. I think it was my parents, just kind of the way I was raised, and they never really let it get to my head, and they never made it a bigger deal, I think, than it really was. And that was my mom jokes about it. That was like her main goal, was to make sure I never, got too big of a head that I couldn't fit through the door.
Now that I think about it, it was probably more beneficial for being from a small town, because you don't look at it that way. Being from the biggest city probably would have been a different factor, probably a little harder for your parents to manage that. But kudos to your parents, man. That's what's up.
We want to get inside your head for a second. Can you please narrate your thoughts when you're getting ready for the McDonald's All-American Dunk Contest? You're going against Gerald Green. Are you going in there thinking this, or are you thinking about, like, let me not embarrass? What was going through your mind?
I was thinking, what in the world am I doing here? I had a couple good dunks. I
remember it. I watched it live. I remember it.
I think I had 2 dunks that I thought, these are all right. Compared to those other guys, not all right. But I just remember sitting on the gym floor, and you're just sitting on the floor, and then they call your name, and you got to get up, and you got like a split second to do your dunk. And I'm not that kind of dunker. I'm a guy that needs a couple reps, get warm. But no, it was fun, and I'm really glad I did that, because I almost didn't put my name in, but I'm just glad that I went for it.
Did you add any swag to your dunks? Did you do any dances?
No, none. Absolutely not. I was just going to try and complete my dunk and dunk it as hard as I possibly could. That was my entire goal, and then go sit back down.
So the recruiting process, that's something that we love to hear about, because Rudy, my co-host, obviously went through it also, and it seems like such a fun and exciting time. What age did you start getting recruited, and who was looking at you? Like, who got in the door first?
The first, you start getting letters. I think I started getting letters when I was a freshman, and they just send them out. They're not really anything.
The generic ones.
Yeah, and they'll send like 15 a day, just right, so that you're on their mind. But my recruiting, it was UW was always there. But I wouldn't say any of the big schools really got into my recruitment until after it was the summer going into my junior year. I had a really good summer in the AAU circuit. And then it was on. It was kind of like everyone was sending them and calling, and it was kind of a wild time.
What were some of the schools that you remember that when you got that call from them, or that message, or that mail, that letter from them, like, it was like, damn, I'm really doing it out here?
I mean, it was the Roy Williams and the Coach K, Coach Romar at UW, Lute Olson down at Arizona.
Wow.
It was. I was talking to him on the phone, and it was kind of stressful too. It's a big decision that you have to make, and I just remember I really had no idea. I was like, man, these guys all make me want to go to their schools. I kind of want to go to all of them. So narrowing it down was tough, but I ended up just kind of chipping away at it. I think I put it to 5, and then I put it to 3, and that made it a lot easier.
Well, I committed to 4 schools in 2006 in 1 year.
Man, they make it easy.
They really don't make it easy. I remember I was telling one of our other guests that I remember watching the NCAA tournament, and it was the year George Mason made that little run to go to the Final Four.
Oh, yeah.
And that was also the same year George Washington was ranked like top 25 all year. And I had already committed to George Washington, and then I committed to Providence College, and then I see George Mason making that Final Four run, so I'm texting the coach like, hey, hey, coach, when can I get on campus again? Like, I couldn't make up my mind.
That's funny. Did you at least break up with the other coach before you moved on?
Well, I did it with George Washington. I'm close to Providence, so they wanted me to go to prep school for a year. So I was kind of like, they thought they already had set that up, but I was just like, nah, I'm gonna commit to PC, and I didn't even have a conversation with them, which was crazy. Yeah.
So we read somewhere that Coach K actually made a home visit.
Yeah, so I ended up narrowing it down. I just said, okay, if I'm going to stay in Washington, it's going to be UW. I had a really good relationship with Lorenzo Romar, the coach, and my sister was playing basketball at UW at the time. With it being 30 miles from home, I was kind of like, if I'm going to stay in Washington, it's not going to be Gonzaga. WSU was awesome at the time under the Bennett coaches, Tony, and I just said, so Washington is where I'm going to stay home. And then the other two that I really enjoyed talking to the coaches and thought I could see myself playing there was UCLA and Duke. So ended up setting up visits at all the schools. And then the coaches ended up coming out to our house for a home visit. And yeah, Coach K, I mean, he put on a show, flew in his private jet, came and walked around school with me. I introduced him to all my teachers.
What?
Yeah, he puts on a show. So then my mom ended up making dinner for him, and
What did mom make for Coach K? What is he like?
Oh man, I forget. I think she made some flank steak. She makes some really good cornbread, and I forget what else. But I remember her saying. She's like, "This is more pressure on her than anything else. Like, she's got to come up with a meal for the most famous coach in the world."
Right. If Coach K pulls up to your crib right now, do you take the cow out?
What's that?
If the Coach K pulls up to your house right now, do you cook him the cow that's in the refrigerator?
Absolutely. I'm going to throw some ribeyes on the barbecue.
You look like you're a good barbecuer, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What were the official visits like? Especially, I'm thinking UCLA. I'm picturing just them rolling out a million blondes, introducing you to on the way. What was the most fun official visit?
So they're all different. They're all really different. UCLA, it's the LA, Hollywood, that took me to a bonfire on the beach. Brian Morrison was my host, and he's from Redmond, so he's from a town like 10 minutes from Seattle. He went to North Carolina and then transferred to UCLA. He was my host, and it was just kind of the LA scene is what they were trying to push, the celebrities and that kind of thing. I didn't meet any celebrities on my visit, but and then down at Duke, that was way more family oriented. And I mean, these coaches are gearing towards like what the players used to, So when me and my family go on this visit, we went over to Coach K's house for dinner, and JJ Redick was my host on that one. And but I didn't do anything crazy on my visits. It was just, it was just pretty. I think me and JJ Redick ended up playing video games in his dorm room or something like that.
Wow, man. I'm actually disappointed in JJ. He's got to be a better host.
The craziest thing about my Duke visit actually was we're playing pickup, and all of a sudden the game ends, and all of a sudden there's like three managers right next to me, and one has a towel, one has like Powerade, water, and another one's, I don't even know what the other one had, like a power bar or something like that. They had three managers for every player. So like in practice, and I remember just thinking, this is the craziest thing in the world. In practice, when there's like a break, those three managers would run over and just serve the player.
Icy, you didn't do that for us.
I think I was just getting shots up, wondering why I wasn't on the team. I think that's what I was doing. So what?
And then my visit to Washington, I actually ended up committing to Washington before I took my official visit. So just because of the rules of the NCAA, I was able to take my visit after I committed. and went down on the weekend for a game and just kind of hung out with the team. So.
What separated Duke? I mean, Duke looks like Coach K went to your school. JJ is your host. 3 managers are pampering you during practice. How did you pick UW over Duke? How hard was that? That's tough.
It was really hard. I think so. In the end, what it came down to was I saw myself living in this area after basketball was over, after I was done with everything. That was one. I really wanted my family. I'm really close with my family. I wanted my parents, my brothers and sister, and kind of all that group that helped me get to where I was from my hometown. They were all able to see every game and be a part of my experience at UW. So
that
played probably the biggest role in it. And then the last part, I'd just say, I think Coach Romar was the one coach who didn't just sugarcoat everything. He didn't ever promise me I was going to start coming in. It was always, you're just going to have to work for it. And I really liked that. He wasn't just telling me what I wanted to hear in order for me to get me to go there.
It looks like, too, I was reading a couple articles that he was like, they had high expectations for you, but they didn't throw them at you right away. Like, they allowed you to develop to the player you was. I know you had some big games early on, and it's almost expected from fans, like, oh, he's going to do this every game. That's high expectations for a freshman. He was patient with you.
Yeah, and that's that's a tough transition.
Right.
I came in and had a couple, like you said, really good games at first, but then I slumped a little bit, learning all the defensive rotations. You're just not asked to play defense like you are in college and high school. And I was way taller than everyone in high school, so I could get away with a lot of junk. So cutting out all those bad habits, it was a tough transition. Fortunately, I was with an awesome group, and I was going into a team that had just gone to the Sweet 16, and there were some great players still remaining on the team.
How good is Brandon Roy, man?
That dude's unreal. First of all, he's an awesome dude. He's just the coolest guy, best teammate. But he would just do some stuff, and you just kind of have to sit back and shake your head. I remember one of my things that I was supposed to do is like just get out of his way. Get out of his way and go after the rebound in case he misses it. But we would just let him go, and he's the reason why we had the success we had when I was a freshman.
It was incredible.
The highest praise I've ever heard is when Kobe said that he was the most complete player he's ever played against. I don't think you can get higher praise than that.
Yeah, I mean, B-Roy is the guy that he literally looks like he's moving in slow motion, but he's moving fast, and he just floats through the air. And I mean, he's something else.
He even had Prime Ron Artest saying he was the toughest person he ever guarded. Metta World Peace was talking that when he was in his prime.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, shifty, so smooth, and shoot. Yeah. So that season, I mean, we just let him go, and he just went off. It was fun to watch.
Jon, I have a fashion question for you. Okay. So in college, you were the cut off sleeve guy. That was I'm the big guy in the middle.
Yes, you were.
That started that's who I think about. I think of Ben Gordon with the long sleeves. I think of Jon Brockman when I think of
that's good, Icy. That's fucking good.
Is that from high school growing up, or you're just I'm gonna be that diesel guy in college out west that's wearing those quarter sleeves?
That was I just wore that in high school. It was kind of my thing. I don't know why, but I had the cutoff, and then just those really obnoxiously baggy shorts, and that was actually that's what they gave me, and they came down below my knee, and I look back at some of those pictures and just shake my head. But.
A compliment to you is I tried to do that myself playing basketball, but as you can tell, I don't have the same physique, so it didn't look as good,
Hey, at that time though, man, 2006, like that was what was cool. Now we do the high shorts. They do the high shorts now, but at that time, you were swagged out, man. I don't know if you consider yourself a fashion god, but
I'm
you
not
were
much
in
of
the
a. I
basketball
just
world.
I stumbled into that one. I'm not much of a fashion guy.
What was some of your most memorable games at UW?
So I think my freshman year, obviously the Sweet 16, just that ride, losing to UConn in overtime, that was a pretty memorable one. We played against Gonzaga as well. We ended up beating Gonzaga that year, and they had Adam Morrison, and Morrison gave us a real quiet, I think a real quiet 41, I believe.
He was giving it to everybody.
Who did UConn have that year?
UConn had Boone. Who else did they have? Williams was their point guard.
Rudy Gay on that team? Yeah.
Rudy Gay, Gordon.
Denham Brown.
Yeah, they had a squad. Real good team. And, yeah, we were ahead. We should have won, actually. But, it was the one that got away. That shoulda, woulda, coulda. So those were my freshman year. And then probably my most memorable game, we lost. I lost every single game to Washington State in my college career until my senior year. So all my freshman year, every time we played them, we lost. Sophomore, junior, and we ended up beating them to win the Pac-10 tournament outright, or Pac-10 league outright, my senior year. So that was probably my most memorable.
What was that turn up like after you beat them your senior year?
It was awesome. It was they storm the court, they bring out the ladders, you get to cut down the net. It was pretty awesome.
Where do you guys go on campus? Like, you have a big win like that. Where are some of the popping spots?
There's a couple spots. I don't know if I like being a grown adult now, looking back. Like, I'm not going down to University Avenue ever anymore. So we were going down there in college. But no, there's just some spots around, and there's a really, the Greek system at UW's pretty big, so there's a lot of houses around the college, and no, it was awesome. It was I think what was great actually was University of Washington football was awful when we were there. They were terrible, and it really is. I mean, football is the main thing. All the fans love football, Husky football. And they had some really bad years while we were there. So I think a lot of the attention was on the basketball team because we were having some success.
What was that attention like on campus? We had a guest, Ryan Archidiakono, and he was saying when they won, people were asking for photos on campus. Like, did they kind of let you live your life as the star of the basketball team, or were people kind of all in your business?
There's a mix. I mean, it's such a huge college. There's so many people that were there and just had no idea who the athletes were. But I mean, they're like our dog pack, the student section was huge. So there was a lot of attention, and people were just really cool, really lifting. And if we lost, they weren't chewing us out or anything like that. I think that's more like a Boston thing, right?
100%.
No, so it was really cool, and I don't know. I look back on that. It was just an awesome experience. College, I mean, you guys know, college is just, you can't beat it.
I think even and for you specifically, your situation, being from Washington and you're homegrown and being in that environment and getting to experience that with your family, like firsthand, that's just dope, bro. That's amazing. That's a different experience in itself.
And it was fun. And I think what was really cool, and probably what, I don't know, to this day, I mean, I get people coming up saying, "Oh, I loved watching you as a Husky," and partially that's because, I mean, they saw kind of me grow from high school all the way up. I was in the area and stayed here. So it's University of Washington's it's a cool school, and I love going back to games, and they've been pumping out players, putting players in the league like crazy. So that's fun to watch as well.
One of those guys, famous in Boston was Isaiah Thomas. What was he like as a teammate? We want to know a little bit about IT. Did you know
man.
from the jump that he was special?
Oh yeah, from the jump. And I remember Coach Romar had a meeting with me before IT came in, and he just said, "We're gonna have to if we want to be good this year, we're gonna have to let this guy go. We're gonna have to let him." And I was coming off my junior year. We hadn't made the NCAA tournament. I was averaging quite a bit, but Coach Romar, that was one of the things he said. He was like, "If we're going to be good, you can't average as many points. We've got to get IT scoring." And he came in and he was mature. He would just take over games. And he was one of the biggest competitors. And that's one of the things that I have the most respect for him is his competitive nature. I mean, and everyone's seen it. He's just the biggest competitor you can think of.
I actually played against IT in prep school.
Okay.
I went to Bridgeton Academy, went to South Kent. I played against him, and you also played with Matthew Bryan and Manning, right?
NBA, yeah.
Yeah, so we played them. Actually, the first time we played them, this is when, remember the Scout.com?
Oh, yeah.
Right, so back then, we didn't see those highlights of the best players all the time, right? It was kind of like you knew them because you grew up with them or you lived in the same area. So coming from where I'm coming from, my teammates were New York guys, so they knew everyone. They're like, "Yo, you got IT tonight." And I'm like, "Who the hell is that? I don't know who that is." And the first time we played them, it was one of those games where, like, we were number one in the country the whole year. We just didn't miss a shot. We beat them by like 30. And the second time, we played them at South Kent, and we were up like 20 at the half. And then I got a chance to see IT for real. He just took over the damn game. And I was like, "Yo, this dude is good, man. This dude is different."
Yeah, as a freshman, I knew he was special. Just the way he like hovers around the rim and just his finishes. Where you think, like, come on, you've got to land at some point.
Right.
And like I said, he always, every single drill, competition, running sprints, he wanted to win. And that, as a senior, that's something you look at a freshman and you're like,
hell
man,
yeah.
this guy's got it figured out.
I remember vividly one thing I actually took, like, you play against different players, and if they're doing something well that's working against you, you'd be dumb if you didn't try to add it to your game. So he was really good at, once he got his hips by you, you couldn't get back in front of him. He kept you right behind him, and he would hit you with one of these too the whole time. It was like, I was like, oh shit, I gotta add this to the bag.
Yep. And he's so low to the ground. I mean, when he's going full speed and he's hungered down, he's low to the ground, below people's hips. Yeah, he's a great guy. He's another dude though. Like, I was having basketball camps in Snohomish, so I would have a basketball camp for little kids every single year, and I just call up Isaiah and say, "Hey, can you come speak to the kids?" And that dude would come and he'd just hang out for the day.
Wow.
And he's from Tacoma, so he's from south of Seattle. But he just take his time to come up to Snohomish and be with the kids. It was just, I love that guy. He's a great guy.
That's dope.
Yep.
So we've mentioned so many NBA players. If you were able to concoct the starting five of your dreams for the University of Washington, who would those five guys be?
Like guys I played with, or just all time?
Anybody, all time.
I'm going Isaiah at the point, B-Roy at the 2, Quincy Pondexter at the 3, Detlef at the 4, and Todd McCullough at the 5.
You don't have yourself in there?
Nope.
Oh, you got to put yourself in there.
Wait, holy shit. Todd McCullough went to UW?
My guy.
Yo, so I just mentioned him, like, really just off the top. I didn't even know that.
Just randomly.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Todd fucking McCullough. All right, sixth man.
I'll be the sixth man. I'll come.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
So,
that's
John,
squad, man.
We do this little thing. We're going to get into the NBA conversation, but we do this little thing called the fire round, where I ask you quick questions, and you just say the first name or anything that comes to mind, and it breaks up the interview a little bit.
Yep.
So, your favorite musical artist?
Eric Church.
Good choice. Most rebounds you've ever had in a game?
I think 21.
Getting boards. Who would play you in a movie?
Russell Crowe.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
Go-to karaoke. Oh, man. It's been a while. It's been a minute.
Quarantine. You can't.
Billie Jean.
Wow. I'm not going to put you on the spot to sing that right now, but I can only imagine.
You want to get one hee-hee real quick?
No.
Toughest player you've ever had to guard in your career?
Dwight Howard.
Best sport besides basketball for you to play?
Football.
Best trick shot you've ever hit?
Just watch my video.
We'll check it out. Luke, make sure the bio's in there. Make sure the bio. What year is Seattle going to have an NBA team again?
Ooh. I'm going to say 2024. I hope.
Soon. I feel like the fans are starving for it.
They deserve it.
And finally, the last one. Who's the player that you idolized / styled your game after growing up?
Ben Wallace.
Tough guy.
Yeah.
All right, so now the fun part, the NBA, the National Basketball Association. What was going through your mind then leading up to the draft? Were there mocks? Were you checking out the mock drafts? Did you have people in your ear? I feel like there's more street agents in the inner cities, but was everyone coming after you the second that your last game happened senior year? How does that process work? That's the thing that people don't know, leading up to the draft.
Yeah. So I had pretty much decided who I was going to go with agent-wise. I wasn't sure, but I kind of, after college, I kind of planned on going overseas. That's kind of where I thought I was going to go.
Really?
So I picked an agent planning on going overseas. I was hoping I was going to get an invite to the combine. But yeah, that's where I was headed. So I ended up choosing the agent that Spencer Hawes was using, and Spencer and I played AAU together, played in college. We ended up playing again later on at SAC. But yeah, I was just planning on going overseas, and my agent got me an invite to the Portsmouth Invitational, and the stars aligned while I was down there, and I just kind of went off and had a great Portsmouth Invitational. And then after that, immediately after that, I got an offer for a 3-year contract from Milwaukee. And it's kind of a hush-hush deal. And they said, we're going to take you at number 40, and we'll sign you to a 3-year deal, but you can't do one workout. You can't meet with another team. You can't go to the combine. So they just said, turn off your phone. You can't do anything. And this is a little against the rules, but that's what I did. And I was just planning on going at number 40 to Milwaukee.
Was that a guaranteed contract, 3 years guaranteed, or was there some?
Yeah, they said 3 years guaranteed. And so I said, shoot, that is awesome. I will do that. And so I didn't go. I turned down the combine, and I just waited for draft day to come.
Now, because that happened, did you start celebrating a little earlier than the actual draft night? Because you already knew it was going down.
I think it was more just a sense of ease. I didn't have to really worry about it. So when draft night came, I was like, I know where I'm going to go. Things worked out a little differently, but I was like, I don't really have too much to worry about. So then draft day came, and I was sitting down watching the draft and just watching to see where other people were landing, because I knew, I was like, that's where I'm going to go.
You said this for us, who are you with? Is this a party or is this close family, or who's
this close family? I was at my parents' house, sitting in the living room. And so we're, it's the 20s get passed, and then we're into the second round, and everyone's like, all right, second round, we got to sit down. So 35, 36, and then all of a sudden, 38, drafted by Portland. And I get a call from Brandon Roy, who is in Portland. And he's like, John, I'm so pumped. We're going to be teammates again. I can't wait to get you down here to Portland. And literally, as I'm on the phone with him, I see like the bottom ticker. It says, Brockman's been traded to SAC for, I forget what it was for or something like that. And then right after that, I get a call from Spencer Hawes, who's my ex-teammate. He's like, I can't wait to have you down here in SAC. This is going to be awesome. And I'm
Not
like,
everybody.
just wait, because I think I'm probably going to get traded again. But SAC is where I ended up staying. But the thing that sucked was I thought I was going to get a 3-year contract.
Right.
SAC is like, no, you're a second-round pick. You got to come make the team. Like, we're not guaranteed. You don't get a guaranteed contract.
What did Milwaukee call at all? And be like, what the fuck is happening?
We can't do anything about it.
Yo.
You just got to go. You got to go make the team in Sacramento. So I ended up loading up a U-Haul trailer, hooked it up to my truck, and drove like the next week down to Sacramento and just started training and working out.
Wow.
I cannot believe that happened. I can't believe.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I would never know that, but that's wild.
And that was like my first, like, this is the NBA. I mean,
right.
very, very seldom do you see a guy stay in the same city and kind of had what I like. I've been in the Seattle area my entire life. And seldom do you see a player stick in one spot. More times than not, guys are like floating around, getting traded and moving. And that was my real wake up to this is the NBA life.
Wow.
Yeah. That's nuts. Yeah. So what was training camp like? Did you get in there and, think that I'm definitely going to make the team, or what was your mindset then?
My mindset, I was just going to approach it like I approached every single time I step on the floor. And I'm always, as a basketball player, I was always just trying to outwork the other guy. And we had a lot of, we weren't a great team in Sacramento. But I knew I had to fight and I had to try and make the team. So it was just all out, going like crazy every day. And training camp wasn't even over yet, and they ended up signing me to a 1-year deal for the league minimum. But it was. I was scratching and clawing, just doing whatever I could to make the team.
You have that game that travels. Like, you always hear from your coaches, and you go through it too. Like, there's gonna be nights where you can't make a damn shot, or the ball's just not bouncing how it's supposed to. But there's one thing you control is your effort, and you had that type of game.
Yeah, and my main thing was I was a rebounder. I just kind of had a nose for the ball.
Right.
So I think a lot of guys in the NBA need to have one thing that they're really good at.
Right.
And that was my thing, is I could always fall back on, I'm just going to go out and try and grab every single rebound. So that's what I did, and it worked out.
What would you say was your welcome to the NBA moment? Like, damn, whether it be good or bad.
Welcome to the NBA moment. So this didn't even happen on the court. But you guys have heard of rookie duties. So
right.
On most teams, you got your rookie duties. And when I was showing up to every practice, game, team meeting with a Cinderella backpack full of bagels and cream cheese, that was when I was like, all right, I'm here, initiation. So that was my job as a rookie, was to bring bagels and cream cheese to everyone, every single meeting.
This is a question I probably should ask right in the beginning when we started talking about the NBA. Why didn't your cutoff sleeves travel to the league? Is that a rule that that can't happen?
I think there were rules, but I think you could have some sort of an undershirt.
Right.
I don't know. I think it had to be a tank top. I don't think it could stick out of the jersey. I think that was it. And my choice was like a skin tight NBA muscle tank, and that wasn't. I think I tried that a couple times, but it just wasn't my style.
Right, that's not it.
That's when I got rid of the cutoff.
Something that always fascinated me about the NBA was the road and the road trips and what really goes on. Because I have a vivid memory. When I just turned 21, I went to a club. It was the night before the Lakers played the Nets. At this point, it's 3:30 in the morning. The Lakers are still there. I live in New York City. The Lakers are still there. And I'm thinking, it was either noon or a 1 o'clock tip the next day. and I'm not going to call it any names, but Jordan Clarkson, a couple people were in there. And
hey, for the Lakers, it was only 12:30, bro.
That's true. But what was the road life like? Did you ever get pressured to go out with everybody late night and stuff, or?
Definitely. I mean, guys go out, guys have a good time. I think there's just so many games, and there's so much pressure on those guys. I think that's one thing people don't really realize is every single day there's pressure on them, and I think guys just need to go out and let loose sometimes. So definitely have pressure, but I'm one of those guys. I learned pretty early in college that if I don't get 8 hours, I'm not going to be too sharp in the morning. So I tried to make it a point, I'll go out for a little while, but I'm going to give them the old goodbye, around 12 o'clock, get back, get my sleep.
Was there ever a night, though, that was like, oh, shit, you woke up the next day like, I don't know how I let this happen?
I saw a lot of teammates who had that night.
What city did that happen the most?
What's that?
And what city did you see this happen to your teammates the most?
Oh, man, the big ones, New York, L.A., Miami was usually a trip that there were some guys with the brown bottle flu the next morning. So,
And we're not saying, the biggest party animal or anything. We're not here, to call anybody out. Who was the most fun teammate that you had, or any guy in the NBA that if you were going out with them, you knew it was about to be a blast?
I had a lot of, so my rookie year, we had Andres Nocioni on my team, and then Sergio Rodriguez. And those guys were a riot. I mean, they just fed off each other, and I mean, they were hilarious. There was one time, I forget what hotel it was. I think it was in Chicago, and it was around Christmas time. And those guys jumped up and hit like the ball on top of the Christmas tree off and just started playing soccer in the lobby. Just hilarious dudes. In Milwaukee, I played with Drew Gooden. He was a riot, always having a good time. Probably the funniest dude, though, was Earl Boykin. And he
really? Little Earl?
Earl. So Earl's the dude, he'd just be sitting on the bench, like, telling Scott Skiles, Coach, you got to put me in if you want points. We can't score. Put me in. Just joking around. And then he'd go out and just put 20 up in like 2 quarters or something like that. I mean, he's just an awesome, hilarious guy.
So you played with every small point guard but Spud Webb.
I think so. Spud and Muggsy I didn't play with, but yeah.
Holy shit. I forgot. Earl Boykins was nice, man.
Yep.
A question that we had on with an NFL guest revolved around like hanger-ons. Were there people in the lobby, whether it's guys that are trying to get autographs, girls that are trying to, meet the players? What was that like on the road? Were they waiting in the lobby? Did they know exactly where you're going to be out to eat and stuff?
I get that question a lot, and not really. I mean, there were people when we get off the bus. So my my rookie year, I was with Tyreek Evans, and that was his rookie of the year. And so there was a ton of attention from him or on him. When we get off the bus, there's people looking for autographs and stuff, but the hotels did a pretty good job of clearing things out and keeping the lobby clean, people away. So I don't remember that much of that. But definitely, they'd find out where we were getting off the bus and they'd be waiting. But it was mostly just guys trying to get autographs for their son at home. It was that type of thing.
Now, did you play with Steven Jackson for a little bit too?
Yeah, in Milwaukee. Yep.
So we had Speedy Claxton on, and he was telling us about him and Stack and how frequently they visited the San Antonio strip clubs. So I figured anytime we have a chance to ask about Jack, we got to ask about Jack because the dude just seems like a legend, man.
So hilarious, first of all, but a great teammate. Actually, one of the things I did, we would have a cup of coffee before every game. So when we were in Milwaukee, he saw me drinking coffee, and he's like, "Brock, what is that?" Like, what are you making over there? Like, just coffee. He's like, so we'd have a cup of coffee before the game and just sitting in the locker room. But I don't know, that guy. We didn't really hang out that much outside of the gym.
Right.
But just a wild dude. There was one day in practice that him and Scott Skiles got into it, and I thought they were going to have a fist fight. I mean, they were just screaming at each other, and they had to be like separated because Scott Skiles he's not going to back down, and neither is Stack. So, but yeah, great competitor, and it was fun being able to say, yeah, I played with him, and I enjoy some of those stories. I think that we've all heard about Steven Jackson as well.
Right.
You found your way to Milwaukee. What was that like? Did it feel like it all came full circle?
Yeah, so really it was awesome because as soon as my 1-year contract with Sacramento was over with, Milwaukee said, we'll give you the same contract. So I ended up signing for 3 years with Milwaukee after my rookie year and went out to Milwaukee.
What was it like as a city?
Oof. Cold. Very cold. I liked it. It was there were a lot of it was really different than Seattle. So it felt like they just hunker down, drink a lot of beer during the winter, and just all of a sudden the winter will be over and it'll be 80 degrees again. I enjoyed it as a city. I thought there was a good food scene, but yeah, it was a little too cold for me.
What do you think, man, about Giannis? Do you think Giannis stays in Milwaukee? This question is kind of off the interview, but do you think so? No?
I don't think so.
I didn't realize it was that cold over there. That changed a lot for me. I don't even live there.
I mean, I'm talking the wind blowing, temperatures in the negatives. There was one morning I was about to go to practice. I let my dog out to go to the bathroom, and he said, I'm not going out there.
Dog said, hell no.
You're pissed. Yeah, I mean, like the lake is frozen, so it's very cold. But I don't know. I don't think I see him staying. I don't know him as a person. He wasn't there when I was there. So he might be the guy. They've built a really cool. They have a different group. It seems like they're just like a family-oriented group that's different than most teams in the NBA. So I don't know. Maybe those guys will stay. But I think in the long run, if you look at what other players have done, I don't see him staying.
From what we've heard, NBA is so much different than college in terms of, the camaraderie and whatnot and the time spent because you're not living with these guys. On the road, did you kind of have your clique that you go get dinner with? Would that be kind of your alone time? How did that really work?
Yeah, it was a lot different. I mean, like you said, college, you're with each other all the time. NBA, it's like you're with each other, and then really once you get to the hotel, because you're not doing team dinners, you're not eating together as a group. They give you your per diem, and it's like little groups of guys go separate directions. So you just have your dudes that you hang out with normally on road trips, and you'll go get dinner, hang out, whatever. But very, very different than college.
How many players would you say you still are close to now from your NBA career?
Oh, I think really just the dudes that went to Washington. There's a bunch of guys that I could call up, and when I run into them, we talk it up. But I don't really stay very close with too many guys.
Right.
I'm more in touch with dudes that I played in Europe with. Talk to them a lot more.
We joke around about this. We're not gonna ask you to call them, but who's the most famous person in your cell phone?
Ooh, that's a good question. Probably Isaiah or B-Roy. Yeah.
More famous than I got.
I seen a little one of those memes. You know how these memes work now. That they had like former NBA players who should be the next head coach in the NBA. It was like Chauncey, Brandon Roy, Who else was in there? Sam Cassell. There was a whole bunch of different guys. Is Brandon Roy interested in NBA? Because he's still doing that
doing high school.
Team, right?
Yeah, he's doing high school. He's had a lot of success.
A lot.
Yeah, a ton.
A lot. I don't know. I see him. B-Roy is a little bit like me. I mean, he's from Seattle. He really likes Seattle. Right. I don't know if I see him leaving. He's got a pretty nice setup. He gets his basketball fix coaching high school. I don't think I see him. Maybe, but I don't see him coaching NBA.
2024 starting to come back. Who knows? Maybe
that's true. That's true. That might happen. Definitely put him on the staff.
So you had, a great time in the NBA, and then you end up going overseas. Was that kind of like a culture shock for you? Did you just immediately embrace it? What was that like?
So how I ended up going to Europe is pretty crazy. I got traded to Houston. Kevin McHale was coaching down there. It was during the whole insanity thing, and I went to Houston for a workout in September. And I flew in that morning. It was going to be a big man workout. So I'm in the gym warming up, and I'm using a stretch band, and I'm stretching my hamstring out, one of those purple bands, and the thing snaps, hit me in the eyes. And I was like, lights out. I couldn't see anything. So I didn't get full vision. What's that?
Did you lose consciousness?
I was a little dazed, but like I couldn't see anything. Like I was blind. So it took 3 months for my right eye so that I could see again. And in that 3 months, they had made their roster, so they had waived me. And after that was over, I just told my agent, I was like, I'm not going to wait around for an NBA team. I kind of want to just go to Europe where I can start playing right away. Because my NBA career, I started a couple games, but it was mostly because of injuries. There were some games I'd show up, my jersey wasn't in the locker. One of those things. Like my minutes were not real consistent in the NBA. And I think after 3 years of that, as a competitor, I was just like, I want to play, I want to contribute. So when I got injured and waived, I just said, find me a job over in Europe. And that's when I ended up heading over to France.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's a wild story.
Yeah, it was really scary actually because, there was a while. So what happened was essentially I got a really bad bruise on both my eyes. So they filled up with blood, but they couldn't see to the optic nerve behind my eyes. So for like a month and a half, they were questioning whether I was going to see again. And I'm like,
how are you able to stay mentally okay during that?
I know. So I was in the hospital in Houston for 10 days just on bed rest. I couldn't move because they didn't want if there was something wrong with my optic nerve, they didn't want to damage it any further. And then I went out to LA for a week. So flew to LA to see an eye doctor out there. And then I was making trips from Seattle or from Snohomish to LA, seeing a doctor at UCLA. So through all that, I think, it just changed something, I was like, golly, basketball really, up until that point, basketball was the most important pressing thing in my entire life. And I think that was a moment where I was like, there's going to be life after basketball. I didn't see. So I think that was actually the start of me retiring. And it took a few years, but that's kind of where that retirement thing, life after basketball, because we're always told the basketball is going to go flat at some point, there's life after basketball. And that was kind of the wake up call for me on that.
Holy shit. What would you say the difference was between playing in the NBA and playing overseas? You hear guys like Lucas say, yeah, the most talented players in the world are in the NBA, but it's a lot tougher to play overseas.
Yeah, you get a guy overseas who's scoring 15 points a night, and that dude's, he's putting points up. It's different. It's way more like college, a lot harder to score. Guys are just super skilled, and you see it in the European players that are in the NBA now. Their skills and their footwork is at another level, and every American that I see when I was over there, every time I catch the ball, they call you traveling on you. like literally every time you catch the ball, because we're just used to different footwork.
Right.
And you'd see other Americans come over and really struggle with that. And it's just a different deal. I mean, if you go from being in the West End or the Four Seasons every night as an NBA player, and then literally the European guys, you're sharing a room, and it is not a nice hotel room. I mean, you're not staying in the nice spots. So it's a major shift and change. But if you get used to that, the style of basketball in Europe it's really fun. It's a blast.
I would say probably too, like the getting to experience the different cultures. How fun was that for you too?
Yeah, that was great.
Off the court.
And so my first year I went to France, and I went to a city called Limoges. And actually in that city I played with Brad Wanamaker. We were on the same team in Limoges, France, and Kyle McIlharney. And in France, this is the craziest thing, we were on a team that just played in the French league. So there's the teams that play in their country's league, and then they also play in a European league. Well, this team only played one night a week. We played Saturday night against a French team. Every other day of the week, we had two-a-days. So that's another reason why in Europe, you do two-a-days throughout the entire season. You'll be in the playoffs, and you're doing two-a-days. So it's just like that totally messes up some American guys. Like they're just not used to that.
We're spoiled, man. We're spoiled.
So yeah. So then after my first year, I was like, I want to go to a team that's playing 2 games a week. So I went to a team in Chalon-sur-Saône, and I was playing, and I remember I show up, and I'm playing against this guy, and this 18-year-old's guarding me, this lanky dude, and he's just blocking every single one of my shots. Like I cannot get a shot off around this guy, and I can't figure it out. Well, it's Clint Capella. So I played with him when he was 18 in France, and we had a pretty good team. We were playing Euro Cup. So we would play on Wednesdays around Europe, and that's where I really got to experience other cultures and see different countries.
And I know you're a big family guy. Obviously, you made that a point to tell us throughout the interview. Did your family get a chance to go and see you play overseas at all?
Yep. So my parents would come out once a year. They were still working at the time, so it was kind of tough for them to get out for a week period. But it's tough. I mean, you always have some plane tickets built into your contract so you can have family come out. But it's really hard. I mean, you're missing Christmas, you're missing Thanksgiving, some of that stuff that you're used to, family time. If you're a big family guy, it sucks missing all those holidays. And that also played into me retiring. But when I was in France, we ended up playing in our Euro Cup. We played in Germany. And I would always go out and just kind of walk around the cities. And it was Germany during like Christmas time. And they had this Christmas market going on. People were outside like drinking beer in the snow. And I'm like, I want to play in Germany. So my next year, I told my agent, I said, I don't care where, because I knew my career was coming to an end, and retirement was in my mind. And I was like, I want to go to Germany, play basketball. So he ended up finding me a contract in Germany, in Ludwigsburg, Germany, and I ended up playing 2 years there.
I don't think people really, my bad, I don't think people understand how much of a grind it is playing overseas. There was a former Xavier guard, Tu Holloway. He spoke out on Paul George complaining about the bubble and just like his mental state during that. And I don't want to dismiss mental health, but it was like, wow, you think living in a luxurious bubble is hard? How about playing overseas where you're away from your family for 10 months? And you have to adapt to that different type of environment. Like, that's the grind for real.
It was very tough. In Germany, France, I felt like I was in a small bubble. Germany, for whatever reason, the city I was in, the guys that were on the team, our coach, John Patrick, he played at Stanford, and he worked for Nike for a really long time. So he was an American dude. He ended up marrying a German lady and lives there now. But his whole thing was, I'm trying to find American players whose grandma and grandpa are Germans, so I can get them a passport and put them
right. You get naturalized.
Yep. So there were a lot of, English was what we spoke in the locker room. That's what we spoke on the court. So I went from playing in France, where really I only learned pretty much just the swear words that my coach was yelling at me in French. And then I go to Germany, and it's a lot like, it's like home. I'm playing in America. So yeah, I loved playing in Germany. It was a blast, and played with a lot of really cool guys. But I think I got burned out. That whole 2 practices a day. My last year there, I think in the 10 months that I was in Germany, I think we had 9 days off, and it just wore on me. And I was playing great. We were doing awesome. But I just, for whatever reason, there was this moment where I was like, I think I'm done. And I remember I was driving to a playoff game. We were playing Munich, and it just kind of hit me. And I told my wife, I was like, I think I'm done. I'm ready to retire. And then that was my last season.
It's amazing to have peace with that, because you see so many people that are trying to hold on too long. They don't know when to call it. Do you feel like you were at peace with that decision as soon as you did it?
Yeah, it was always, even to this day, I kind of like, should I have just hold on for a couple more seasons? But I think at the time it was the right choice. And I'm pretty healthy. I didn't have any major knee issues, no ankle issues. I could feel my hips. My hips were getting bad my last season. And I wanted to be able to do stuff after I played. I wanted to be able to farm pumpkins and that kind of thing. So I don't regret my call at all. I think I made the right call. And it's really weird, though. You go from doing basketball every single day your entire life, and then all of a sudden it's just over, and you don't have any requirements. You don't have to be in the gym. It's a really hard transition, actually.
Are you coaching these days?
Yep. So I coach at the middle school in Granite Falls. I'm the PE teacher there, so I teach PE, and then I coach the middle school team.
Hey, I'm a health teacher, man. We're like,
you're a health teacher?
Yeah, I'm a health teacher, man.
Yep. So I teach health and fitness as well. But yeah, it's fun. I get my fix. It's a 10-week season. We play 10 games. Start October 15th, and we're done at Christmas break, and it's perfect for me.
Do the kids like how good you were today?
They know that I played in the NBA, and I downplay it. I tell them it's like my cousin. I'm like, no, that's my European cousin. But they catch on to it. And with YouTube now, they look stuff up. They always pull up videos of me getting dunked on and stuff like that. They think that's pretty funny. So
that's dope, man. I didn't realize you was in the teaching field, man. You're an impressive dude, man.
Yeah.
So, Jon, we really appreciate you coming on. Rudy, do you have any last questions for Jon?
Yeah, real quick, because you really didn't mention the farm. Did you live in a farm growing up? We mentioned the farm in the beginning, but did you come from living on a farm? Like, what made you transition to that?
I never lived on a farm, but I worked on a farm from middle school all the way through high school. And actually, after I retired, the year after I retired, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I wanted to get a farm. So my wife and I moved back, and I started working on that farm that I grew up working on. And we ended up selling our house and then buying our piece of property. And he's kind of been my mentor. The farmer that I worked for, he was a basketball player. He played at Washington State University, and he's a basketball legend in our hometown too. So he's been helping me out. And this year, he loaned me a bunch of tractors to put in our pumpkin patch, and yeah, he's helped me out. But I remember way back, even when I was young, I always told my mom I wanted to be a farmer. I want to play basketball, and I want to be a farmer. So just making it happen.
Oh, man. That's what's up, man.
Lived out the dream. Honestly, it's unbelievable.
It seems like you're happy with everything that you're doing, man. And I like seeing people happy, man. So kudos to you, man. We appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us, man.
Yep. Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jon.
Yep.
All right, so now we'll cut it.
All right, sweet.
Jon, that was an awesome interview. I appreciate that.
All right, hold on, wait. Let me actually turn my video off and then on to get me in the. Well, I don't know if I go on the bottom, but all right, we're good to go.
Wow, Jon Brockman, hell of a guy. The two things that really stood out to me in that interview was the Milwaukee Bucks story. I didn't know those types of deals go down behind the scenes where they say don't answer your phone, don't work out for anybody. And two, is he the most genuine guy of all time? It really hit me when he said that Romar asked him to stop shooting when he's a senior. The guy is, an NBA player, and he's willing to give up shots for Isaiah Thomas just for the team. He's just like a rebound and hustle guy.
Shit, what hit me was the fact that the guy is teaching phys ed right now.
Yeah.
To be at his stature and still in this community, the dude was good energy. It was good vibes, man. I genuinely enjoyed that interview.
Everything he said was about family, and you could tell this was not fake anything. This was really him, and he just seems like a real genuine guy. He gave us, an hour and a half of his time. Like
that, very cultural, very, very cultural guy. But I like that. I wanna understand that guy's culture. We got to invite to go to the crib. We got to figure that out, man. We got to figure out.
Have you ever fished before?
Shit. Like not fish. No.
All right, we're gonna have to get some Instagram stories on the KYP podcast. So everyone, make sure you type in "know your personnel." Make sure you spell it right. Luke, the producer, is gonna put it right here. It's on YouTube. It's on Apple Music. It's on Spotify. We're now on Amazon. We're on iHeartRadio. We're everywhere. We're going global. The views are going up every week. Make sure you please like and subscribe. It means a lot to us. We have more pros. You realize we've had pro after pro after pro. I'm talking NBA, NFL guys. We're only going to get better, and we appreciate you for listening.
Know your personnel.
See you next week.